Okay, hello everyone. Today I'm going to run a new brew through a modern league. This is Modern Horizons 2 Miracles, or at least my take on it. We're effectively trying to leverage Brainstone and Lurrus in the same deck to interact with Counterbalance. So ideally, you get to play a Brainstone on turn 1, a Counterbalance on turn 2, and then start cycling through your Brainstones to counter cards that your opponents play. Obviously, this is backed up by a suit of counterspells, Force of Negations, and then removal spells of different calibers. We're also playing some of the Miracle cards because we are playing Brainstone. It will definitely be interesting to see how this deck plays out. I'll be completely honest with you, I don't necessarily think that this deck is particularly very good, but I hope it's sweet. At least maybe get to do some sweet things with it. And if we do, that'll be all I really want. Counterbalance definitely is not the supreme powerhouse like it is in Legacy, but I definitely think it still deserves some... Aether Vial is an interesting one. It's possible we're just supposed to go ahead and force this and then slam the Counterbalance. It's also possible we just let this resolve and then we Prismatic Ending it next turn and then plan to follow up with a Counterbalance. I think I prefer to force this now and then go grab a blue-white source. Right. We are playing Raugrin Triome as well. I am going to go ahead and grab this Glacial Floodplain, however. We are playing Raugrin Triome as a one-of, simply to feed colors into Prismatic Ending. Not counter, but rather remove a 4-drop from play. We can. We're going to go ahead and buy Lurrus. We're not doing anything else with our mana this turn. It seems like our opponent kept a hand with one Aether Vial and... nothing else. Oh, it's Pikachu. So it's not Eldrazi, but rather Merfolk. That's the word I was looking for. Opponent getting in for 2. Oh, hello, kitty cat. I think given that we don't have a fetch land, I'm just going to leave the second Counterbalance in my hand for something like a Force of Negation or otherwise. Third Mutavault. Okay, so I'm going to bauble my opponent. They are drawing an island, finally. So we have a game. I will be casting my Lurrus. I will cast Lurrus. And I will cast Mishra's Bauble. And I think I'll just keep the Counterbalance in my hand. That's okay. I think I'll go ahead and Bauble myself just to see what's on top. Abundant Harvest is on top. So I am going to be drawing through that and then one additional card. Terminus. Terminus on top. Turn their Mutavault into an island. They need more blue sources. Certainly an interesting play. Seize claim my green source. That is fine. Ice-Fang Coatl on top of my deck. Not be revealing that to Counterbalance. Rishadan Dockhand. Not be revealing that to Counterbalance either. Okay, draw 2. Okay. Misty Rainforest is a reasonable draw. Okay, now I will play out the Counterbalance. And I'll play out Misty. And don't think I want to attack. Kind of let them do their thing here this turn. And we'll sort of be on the plan of let's flip the top card, Brainstone on top. Okay, well, I think I want that one. But I think it's okay if we shuffle it away. Let's grab a forest, and we're going to bauble ourselves. Counterspell on top. Yeah, I'll go ahead and show him that one. Just going to block the Mute Vault. And I'll take 3. And then this turn, yeah, I mean, they're just going to concede, but we get to recast Ice-Fang Coatl and have another Death Touch blocker, and that gets them versus what we already have going on. So Engineered Explosive seems quite good in this matchup. Dress Down could be okay. Prismatic Ending seems pretty good. The rest of these cards are kind of mediocre. It was a little bit interesting. This was something that I was somewhat concerned with when I built this deck, was that, you know, having Lurrus and Terminus in your deck is kind of an awkward nombo. Your sort of like card advantage engine in Lurrus is a creature, and Terminus being your only, like, your main way of interacting with creatures is a little bit of a nombo, but, you know, like, technically it goes back in your deck, so you could redraw it, so it's like not, it's not the end of the world, but it's not exactly ideal. Okay, so what do we want? Force of Negation is not great. It does answer Vile, but that's okay. We have Prismatic Ending for that. Engineered Explosives and Dress Down are our other options. Dress Down just makes it such that their lords don't do anything. But this isn't really like a matchup where that matters a ton. This is going to be mostly like on the basis of Terminus and other things like that, just spot removal. So I don't think I'll be boarding in Dress Down. It's definitely an interesting card though. It's an enchantment that you can play at flash speed that draws you a card, so it doesn't just get put on the bottom by Terminus. It's not like an Ice-Fang Coatl where you play the Ice-Fang Coatl, you draw your card, and then put the Ice-Fang Coatl on the bottom immediately. Yeah, I'll keep this. Turn 1 Relic. Seems good, seems good. I'll go ahead and start on Raugrin Triome, cast Mishra's Bauble. And I will pass. Okay, Rishadan Dockhand. Relic of Progenitus. I think I'm going to use this Misty to go grab a basic island, and we'll play out a Counterbalance. Got the land. Civilian of Sea and Sky. So this is the Indestructible. This is like the new card that they printed. So I have to, you know, sort of figure out if I want to sack this Bauble to look at the top card to then decide if I want to give them the information from the Counterbalance. Then they get to eat the Bauble. I'd like to draw the card either way, so I'm going to go ahead and sack the Bauble. There's a Flooded Strand on top. I will not be showing my opponent that Flooded Strand. They are going to get to eat the Bauble. That's okay. I will not show you my Flooded Strand. And now you have a Svelun. I'll figure out how to say it eventually. I don't fucking know. Okay. Yep, we'll double up on counterbalances. This is one spot where doubling up on counterbalances can be okay, specifically because if you have a fetch land, you can crack it in between triggers after revealing one card that doesn't counter the card that's on the stack. So it definitely has some utility there. Okay, you can draw a card. Oh, blockers. Okay, they're choosing not to cast anything. I suppose they're probably activating Rishadan Dockhand, if I had to assume. Sure. Tap down the Raugrin Triome. A Brainstone would be quite good here. This card is proving to be quite good here as well. Just them being able to draw extra cards. Top card is a snow-covered island. We'll go ahead and fetch. Grab a Glacial Floodplain, and I'll flip again. Mishra's Bauble. Okay. Okay. This is now an island. Okay, I'm gonna grab a Hallowed Fountain. Yeah. And then on this turn, I think I will go ahead and Cryptic tap draw. Do I want to grab a Breeding Pool? I don't think so. Tap your creatures, draw a card. Okay. Forest is good. The Rishadan Dockhand means, or the Rishadan Dockhand being tapped because of the Cryptic means that we're going to have 6 mana to cast the Terminus next turn. The question of whether or not it resolves is still in the air because they are technically still a Merfolk deck. They're playing blue cards. They could very well have a Spell Pierce or Counterspell, something of that nature here. But we will go ahead and cast Terminus. Put all the creatures on the bottom. Should they actually find a Counterspell of some kind, doesn't necessarily mean that we're losing this fight. We do have 2 counterbalances in play, so there's a chance that we still just resolve the Terminus and get to relic them. It's possible that so basically the deck being, you know, counterbalance Brainstone synergies, it's possible the deck needs other ways to find Brainstone because so far like we've seen it exactly once. I haven't drawn it except for this one time. Okay, Silvergill Adept. Let's see what we show. Snow-covered plains on top, and we will not be flipping to the counterbalances here. Let's start with Abundant Harvest and name non-land. Okay, that's pretty good for us. Means we get to play Brainstone, activate Brainstone to go ahead and draw a couple cards, put a couple back. So we're going to put Abundant Harvest on top, Terminus on top of that. And then I will play out this snow-covered island, play out the Mishra's Bauble, and I will go ahead and crack it and target my opponent. So this following turn, we will be drawing a card on our upkeep because of the Bauble. which will put all of the creatures on bottom because we're drawing Terminus. And then if they choose to interact in any way here with a 1 mana spell, there's an Abundant Harvest underneath that, which will be countered by the counterbalances. Any other cards that they play that don't get countered by the counterbalances, having the 1 on top, will be countered by this counterspell. I'm going to go ahead and just exile Abundant Harvest. And it is at this point in the game where, you know, maybe buying a Lurrus, playing it, and then, yeah, so this is going to get countered by counterbalance. They have a... Go ahead and counter this with Counterspell. Okay, we'll go ahead and name non-land again. Okay, buy Lurrus, play Lurrus. Okay, and they are choosing to go ahead and eat the graveyards here, which is fine. It's not ideal, but it's fine. Okay, 3 mana. We could still flip here. Prismatic Ending is an okay draw. Mutavault. I honestly think I'm just gonna go ahead and trade here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and trade here. Get that one out of here. Counterspell. Flip. Breeding Pool on top. Okay. Oh. Go ahead and Snapcaster Mage for Prismatic Ending. And we'll do it again. Okay. Red, white, blue. Done. Nope. There's a Breeding Pool on top. No reason to flip to Counterbalance. Master of the Pearl Titan. Okay. And I think I'm going to go ahead and just attack with the Snapcaster Mage. Well, I mean, this is 2/3, so there's not really much reason to do that. We'll go ahead and just Terminus the board, and then play this tap land. And then it's the top of their deck versus the top of mine. I'll be honest, I don't know who's favorite here. It may be them, it may be us. We don't have a ton of like really great cards that like pull us ahead from this point. We do have one Entreat the Angels. That would be quite good here. Like, if they just cast a 3 mana spell. Oh, Cavern of Souls is a very powerful card here. I still am going to go ahead and play out the Misty, because even if they draw a Merfolk to cast through the Cavern uncounterably, like this absurd card here, I want to leave the fetch land in play just so we have a card, or so that we have some sort of like card selection here. So I'm going to Abundant Harvest for a non-land. Brainstone. And we'll go ahead and crack Brainstone. Okay, so we're going to put Entreat. I think we'll go Ice-Fang Coatl and Entreat the Angels on top. And then I'm just going to cast Bauble. Go ahead and Bauble them. Okay, so they have a Mutavault on top. We're drawing Entreat the Angels on top on their upkeep. Alrighty, can you beat 4 Angels? My presumption is likely no, but we shall see. They are choosing to attack. Just gonna block with 1. Okay, and they conceded. Yeah, I mean, this is what we signed up for, right? Sand gets to go turn 1 Brainstone, turn 2 crack Brainstone, put a Terminus back on top. Underworld Cookbook. Okay. So if this is some sort of Vengevine deck or something of that nature, these Terminuses are going to be quite good. Yep, okay. Definitely looks like the, what is it, Feasting Troll King deck or whatever, with the Vengevines and Hollow Ones and whatever else. So, Terminus is going to be real good here. Just have to maneuver our way into a game where we can cast it effectively. The most awkward thing here is just the fact that if they, obviously the Terminus putting them back on bottom is good. They still have ways to sort of get through their deck and refine those Vengevines, those hollow ones. So it's not like the end of the game. Usually, if you exile Vengevines, it helps a little more, but it is very effective. So what we need is some way to draw Terminus on our opponent's turn. We have a way to put it back on top, but we need a way to actually draw it on our opponent's turn at instant speed. So we spend our turn putting it on top in a pinch, and then... Okay, so he discards a Vengevine, makes a food. Now he's got enough food to make the Feasting Troll King. Okay, so he's Madnessing Blazing Root Walla. Okay, just casting a Blazing Root Walla. Put the Vengy Boy back in top, or back in play rather. The vegetable. I think this is sufficient enough for me to want to take my 3-for-1. Go ahead and just Brainstone and put 2 Terminus back on top. And then I'll go ahead and buy Lurrus. And then Goblin Lore. Okay, they have the Troll King. Activate only during your turn. It's a pretty big downside for this card, because it's about to get put back on the bottom of the deck. And I will go ahead and cast Lurrus now because there's no longer any Terminuses in our top 2 cards. So we're basically on this last Terminus and we need some way to put it back on top anyways. So I am just going to line up Turris, cast the Brainstone. Okay, so he makes food, grabs the Troll King. He's going to make another Troll King. So I'll go ahead and cast the Brainstone from my graveyard. And I think this turn, I'll just go on the plan of Cryptic Tap. Or maybe just, Cryptic Bounce isn't like great. Just because they get to discard it again with the cookbook. And then turn target permanent to its owner's hand, draw a card. That was weird. And then this turn we get to go Bauble, harvest for a land. So they have Asmora on top. I'm gonna go grab a breeding pool and I'll go ahead and pay 2 life because I do want to. I want to harvest for a non-land this turn. If we find exactly Counterbalance, I want to put that in play. So I will recast the Bauble. I'll go ahead and target ourselves with this one. We have another Abundant Harvest on top. And I'll go ahead and attack for 3, gain 3. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't expecting this to be a line, but it is technically a play that they can make. This is pretty cool. Given that, I think I'm okay with going ahead and just Prismatic Ending the Underworld Cookbook. I'll just take this off of play. They are drawing as Mora, Norma, Stupid, Koldakar. And then we get to line up Brainstone, put Terminus and Entreat back on top. Draw a couple cards. And if they don't do much of anything this turn, I will go ahead and just start with the Entreat on top. Okay, make a food. Cast as Mora. They get to go tutor up another copy of the Underworld Cookbook. And I think given this line, I will go ahead and, we'll go ahead and just Entreat, I think. X is 4. And I'll go ahead and put this Misty Rainforest into play because if we draw a, the Terminus next turn, I should have played out the Bauble. I don't know why I didn't. But if we draw the Terminus next turn, we have to put the Angels back on bottom. We obviously don't have to cast the Terminus, but I think I would rather just not cast the Terminus. So I'll keep this hand. I know it's not like fantastic, and it's definitely a slow one against my opponent's relatively quick deck, but as Mora Norma being a 0 mana creature against Counterbalance is kind of awkward for them. And then obviously the rest of their cards being mostly 1 mana, I feel like Counterbalance can definitely do some work here. So I'm gonna lead on Windswept Heath and go grab a Breeding Pool. Then I'll probably go grab a basic island, play Counterbalance. Okay. Cookbook is fine. Counterbalance. Here we go. Probably gonna discard something here. No discard into turn. Countered. Pretty free. I will go ahead and play out a Flooded Strand. Again, same reasons I iterated before, just being able to pseudo scry with your Counterbalance to know what's on top of your deck when your opponent plays something into it. Can definitely be advantageous. So this still Madness still goes on the stack, so he still will cast the Blazing Root Walla. There is a Counterspell on top of my deck, which I'll go ahead and leave there. As Mora Norma. Yeah, there's a lot of zeros in my deck. I'll go ahead and floop. I'll just grab the Raugrin Triome, that's fine. Snow-covered plains. Gotcha! It's kind of an interesting synergy, this deck. Synergy. It's a I say it's not a synergy. It's a interaction, I suppose, against this particular deck, against this particular card being a 0 mana card. Yep. Give him the pump. Okay, my opponent has chosen to do nothing, which is probably correct. I will go ahead and Abundant Harvest for a non-land card. Prismatic Ending. That's a good one. That's a good one. I think I'm gonna go ahead and hit the Cookbook. Okay. They discarded the Feasting Troll King, which definitely looks like that's what they were trying to put into play on the next turn. They don't actually cast this card, which is a little awkward. It would be easier for us to interact with what they were doing if they actually had cast this card. I do not want a second copy of Force of Negation, so I am going to Force of Negation this particular card. I don't mind shuffling the second Force away is what I mean. Mishra's Bauble wouldn't be a bad draw. Ice-Fang Coatl is not a bad one either. So I'm going to go ahead and buy Lurrus. Play a tapped Hallowed Fountain. And say go. Yeah, man, I think I'm going to go ahead and trade. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll lead on Bauble. Bauble them. They have a Feasting Troll King on top. So basically at this point, I just need to counter any way that they have to actually make food tokens. Do I want to play out the Ice-Fang or do I want to play out a Mishra's Bauble? I think I'll play out the Ice-Fang. So green, blue, Ice-Fang Coatl. Brainstone's a good hit. I'll go ahead and put Bauble into play, but I'm not going to crack this one for previously mentioned reasons with Counterbalance. Okay. Okay, they're cycling Hollow one. Okay. My opponent has conceded. I will agree with my opponent, though. I do think that Asmora Norma is a very, very powerful card, and may end up getting banned. Hello, kitty cat. What you want? Let's Bauble myself to start. Ice-Fang Coatl. Well, I want that card. And I will just play out this Mishra's Bauble. And I think I'll go ahead and play out the fetch land, just because I'll probably just end up cracking, target myself again with a second Bauble. And if there's a land on top, I'll crack the fetch land. Yeah. This is something to consider with the Bauble, I suppose. You know, if you think that they're going to just Thoughtseize you again, perhaps you're not supposed to take the... Or perhaps you're not supposed to Bauble yourself again on your main phase, so to speak. Second Ice-Fang Coatl. I'll take that one. Okay. Seasoned Pyromancer. Just grab a basic island, put in this I think my cat's on my control key, which is why it... Yeah, we're holding full control. Thanks, cat. Come here. So they are on 3 lands and 2 Croxes in grave, which is a little scary, but should be okay. Go ahead and flash in our second Ice-Fang. Second Terminus. It's a little awkward. I'll just make my blocks like this. And then if, like, eventually, whenever we pick up Lurrus, we can just put our Ice-Fangs back in play. Yeah, Croxa is going to be a really good threat here. We need to find a Prismatic Ending relatively quickly. I think I will discard this Force of Negation. Man, that's the 3rd. Miracle card that we've drawn that I didn't really want to see. I'll go ahead and just discard the Terminus. I don't want to give them too much information, but Terminus isn't like a super far-fetched card from what a blue-white deck would be playing. Okay. I mean, I'll take another draw step. I think I'll flash in Snapcaster Mage in combat and target the counterspell. And then I just have, like, fingers crossed that I'm able to hit my planes for Terminus. I'll discard the Entreat to the Croxa trigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then that's 12. Yeah, I have to block the Croxa. I'm just going to counterspell this. Which may as well. Yep, that's the worst possible. Don't know that we would have gotten there. We would not have gotten there. I didn't draw the second white source, so didn't matter anyways, but it's definitely still a little bit of a bad beats. I will be bringing in Veil of Summer for the discard spell deck. They are playing a bunch of red cards, so perhaps Aether Gust is okay. Prismatic Ending seems fine. Force of Negation seems not so great. And then it's like... This may not be the best matchup for Counterbalance either. Because they got a lot of options as far as CMCs go. They also have a lot of 3s. We don't have very many 3s. Yeah, I'll board out 2 counterbalances. We'll run it like this. See how this performs. Show you my Lurrus. Keep Brainstone on 1. I honestly think the biggest issue with this card is just the fact that it has a 2 mana activated ability. Obviously, they can't print it as a 1 mana, no activated, like no cost to the activated ability. It needs to be like 1 and 1, maybe 1 and 2. Obviously, 1 and 2 is it feels a little overcosted in my opinion. But it's close. You know, it's hard to say whether or not this card is like going to be modern playable long term. I think the answer is no. Maybe as like a 1 or 2 of in like random tutor decks for like there's a Saga decks, you can like tutor up a Brainstone. I don't know if like that's ever going to come up in a situation where you would want something like that, but it's a powerful effect for sure. You know, being able to brainstorm for effectively 2-ish mana. You know, if you get to put it in play off for free off of an Urza Saga. It is powerful, but is it good enough? Sword of Fire and Ice. Okay. I think I'll go ahead and play the Ice-Fang Coatl. Ooh, that's a good one. Okay. Want a land or a non-land with this? Let's go with land. Yeah, I'm okay with this. It's a tad bit awkward there because obviously we're not playing a second green source. I think I'm gonna go grab the Glacial Floodplain here. So I'm sort of going over my options here. I am gonna shock this in because I want to hold up Cryptic or Counterspell plus Ice-Fang Coatl, Brainstone, one of those combination of cards. This turn, however, if we Ice-Fang Coatl, we have 2 snow creatures and then the 2 snow permanents, so that'll give them both that touch. So I will go ahead and block these. Yeah, this is fine. And then I'll go ahead and crack a Brainstone. Okay, they're going to put Sophie in play. If they want to spend their mana equipping it here, we can go bounce a permanent, draw a card. Which permanent we decide to bounce is somewhat in the air. I'll probably be bouncing the Sword of Fire and Ice itself, because on the basis of if they haven't drawn a land, there's actually no way for them to recast this and equip it. I mean, they can put it into play with the Stoneforge, but they have to have exactly a white source, and that's okay. This one, I don't necessarily have to cast this here, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. So yeah, like right here, we are definitely gonna get choked on mana because of the Brainstone issue. Where did my music go? Maybe that stopped when my cat like sat on my keyboard. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let them attack because of if they attack and I bounce the sword, now the Stoneforge is tapped. So draw a card, bounce this, draw a card. Nope, is a little bit awkward, but that's okay. I know you're hungry. I'll feed you right after this game. Okay, all right, well, I'll feed you right now. Give me 2 minutes, chat. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go feed my cat. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a snow-covered forest here and just go ahead and terminus the board. Think. This could be incorrect, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Terminus the 3 creatures away, and then they have to put some amount of cards in the graveyard in order to cast the Kroxa. I was sort of hoping to line up Terminus against Kroxa, but it should be fine, right? It should be fine, right? Worst case scenario would be like if they... Well, this is like moderately bad. I'm gonna go ahead and discard the Veil of Summer. I was going to say worst case scenario would be if like they played a Thoughtseize into Kroxa, but they didn't have the mana to do that because of the planes. I'm gonna go ahead and pass the turn here with the intent of Snapcaster Crypticing something this turn, whether that be Counterbalance the Liliana or something of that thing along that vein. Probably gonna be counter the Kroxa, bounce the Liliana. Go ahead and discard this Counterspell. Do need to play slightly faster. Just keep up on time. Looks like they're lining up the Kroxa, which I am happy to Snapcaster Cryptic. Counter target, return target permanent to its owner's hand. Top card of their deck is a Swamp. Okay, play out our planes and attack for 2. And I think I am going to go ahead and buy the Lurrus. This turn we can go Snapcaster Counterspell on something. And we're just going to sort of port this game into a somewhat aggressive strategy. We're just going to get them dead. The following turn, assuming that they don't do a ton here, we are, you know, obviously if they just recast the Liliana, we go Snapcaster counter it, and they don't have a ton of follow-up, we're probably going to play out Lurrus and then recast one of the Ice-Fang Coatls. I think I am going to go ahead and Snapcaster Counterspell this because this puts 2 1/1s in the way of my Snapcaster Mages. Yep, they're probably going to recast the Liliana if I had to guess. And it would be at this point in the game... Oh, okay, they're casting Sophie. Okay. I'm like pretty okay with them casting Sophie. I'm just going to like counter any creatures they play, so it kind of doesn't matter. We'll grab white, cast Lurrus. And I'm just gonna grab, I'm gonna go for Mishra's Bauble, because Lingering Souls is pretty bad though for us, I'll be honest with you. This would be a spot where I wanted Force of Negation. Did I leave any forces in? I did not leave any forces in, so I can't draw one off the Mishra's Bauble. They're pretty close to dead, but they're not just dead. Okay, Lingering Souls. Half number 1. Okay. Nothing. Nothing, eh? Got no follow-up. Go ahead and crack the Brainstone. go ahead and play Brainstone. Actually, I want to just play Ice-Fang Coatl. No, I don't. I want to play Brainstone. Okay, I'm going to pass on this turn. But at their end of turn, we can flash in an Ice-Fang Coatl and then tap all of their spirits if they have any, and then go for the kill. We know that their hand is comprised of 1 copy of Liliana. Kind of felt like they're holding up a Collector's Command. 2 damage at me, I discard a card. Veil of Summer, sir, no thank you. I'm just going to return, draw. And then ideally they just like play Lingering Souls and some other 2-mana card, just like a Stoneforge Mystic or something. Yeah, this is fine. Okay, I was really hoping they would tap out, but... Oh, okay. Well, that's... I'm just dead to that. I was not playing around Bolt at all there. That was not on my radar, even a little bit. I suppose it should have been, but it wasn't. I was trying to kill them, and they killed me. In my head, I was still a 6, so when I was fetching, I was going to 5. But they did hit me for 2 with the spirits. So that make a lot of sense. Okay, our opponent is mulliganing to 5. This is somewhat of a question on which land we want to lead on. I think I'll Bauble myself to start to help educate that decision. We're drawing another Misty Rainforest. And I think given that we're drawing a land, I don't need to Abundant Harvest for one. So I will go ahead and just play the Raugrin Triome tapped and say go. We'll just lean on the back of playing Ice-Fang Coatl on 2. One thing I will also mention is I do feel like this deck is slightly a little light in the vein of having 1-mana removal spells. So definitely something to consider there. I'm gonna go ahead and grab a green land, just a basic forest, and I will Abundant Harvest for a non-land card, hoping to find a Terminus here because we're playing against Dredge. Okay, we did in fact find the Terminus, so I'll go ahead and play this Brainstone. And then it's basically my opponent's Dredge deck versus this Terminus setup here. Did we get Creeping Chill? Yeah, we got Creeping Chill. Okay, Cathartic Reunion for 1 Creeping Chill and another Prized Amalgam. So I think this was in the graveyard when they brought back the Narcomoeba, so they're going to get this back on their end step, and then this is going to come back on my end step because of this trigger. And then they have 2 Bloodghasts in the graveyard. So ideally, I'm going to do this now. I would like to Abundant Harvest into exactly Mishra's Bauble. So I'm going to name a non-land. We did not find Mishra's Bauble. What we can do still is we can go ahead and crack the Brainstone and put the Terminus back on top of our deck. I suppose this doesn't work either because we still have to cast the Terminus. So we're not gonna have the mana to cast the Terminus after this. I will go ahead and crack the Brainstone though, just so if we do draw a Mishra's Bauble, we can cast it this turn. I don't intend to draw the Terminus with it this turn, but we can put it 2 under. Okay. We're getting hit for 7, and they are putting 2 blood gas into play most likely. Then they get to dredge. The Ox is going to be quite good as well. They're going to be able to flip pretty much their whole deck into their graveyard. And then next turn, it's basically like, okay, so yeah, this is gonna be relatively close because assuming we take 7 this turn, we go to 5. They put the Ox into play. They dredge a whole bunch. If they find any number of Creeping Chills right here, we're probably dead because they get to put 2 Bloodghast into play with haste. Interesting. Okay. So they've got 2 Creeping Chills in the bottom 14 cards of their deck. So I'm going to take 7, go to 5, and then I'm going to Terminus the board. They're going to Conflagrate me for 3 if they hit. Yeah, this is like kind of awkward. I think I have to play this Hallowed Fountain tapped and pass because I'm basically not going to win if they just hit some number of Creeping Chills and then also Conflagrate me. Yeah, I'm just dead to the 2 Creeping Chills. This card's so stinky, bro. So stinky. I believe our opponent was on like a mold of 5 that game too. Go ahead and start on the Brainstone. I suppose I could have led on Mystic Gate, but not a huge difference there. Not too much thought in that one. I'm just kind of under the impression that the Shriekhorn is usually one of their better cards to start with, so if they don't have any other starters, hopefully that slows them down enough. But they probably have a Cathartic Reunion given that they kept a 7 card. Okay, Creeping Chill on top. It's not very good for them, so they are choosing to shock, so it probably means they have a Cathartic or a Thrilling. One of their discard to draw a billion cards. Dredge a billion. Okay, alright. So they discarded Life from the Loam, Ox, and they only dredged Loam, which did not find them another dredger in the top 3. So we're in okay shape right now. I think I'm going to use this turn to buy Lurrus. No, that doesn't seem right. Let's... I don't know if I want to harvest for a land or a non-land. It's probably correct to do a non-land. Just need a little more gas. I'm probably just supposed to play that, honestly, right? Maybe not. Maybe I think I'm supposed to hold up Brainstone, like in case they go off this turn. They did just draw 3 cards, so I'm probably supposed to counterspell their next thing. I would say that this is slightly better for us than them just casting a Cathartic Reunion. Cathartic Reunion actually having a cost to discard 2, even though it feels better to like counter a spell that like they had to like basically spend 3 cards to put it onto the stack. You know, them being able to discard the 2 cards as part of the cost is more of an upside than anything else, really. Because right now they don't have any dredgers in their graveyard, and okay, yeah. Just destroy the Brainstone. Whatever floats your boat, bro. I'm gonna go ahead and counterbalance. And hope that if they cast a 2, there's a 2 on top. Hope that if they cast a 1, there's a 1 on top, you know? I think I am going to go ahead and buy Lurrus here. Relatively light on resources, and them blowing up the Brainstone is not a huge concern, but it tells me that their hand is kind of slower, especially because they cast the Life from the Loam last turn. They're just kind of hoping to get that card in the graveyard, I would imagine. They played a land first and then cast a Life from the Loam, so definitely feels like they have a somewhat slower hand. Yep. They did find a Blood Gas just finally. This feels like a hard cast Creeping Chill, which I'm not even going to attempt to counter. I suppose I should, just to see what the card top card of my deck is, and it is an Abundant Harvest, so I'll go ahead and draw the Abundant Harvest. Or should I not? Interesting. I don't think I will, because I'm sort of on the plan of playing Lurrus and Brainstone this turn. I suppose if this was my line, maybe I should have taken the Abundant Harvest just to find a land, so I can keep developing my mana. Yep. Free Lightning Helix. Oh, he had to pay for this one. Sure. Counterspell on top. So I'm falling to 3 here, which is obviously not ideal, but we can still get out of this. We're gonna crack Brainstone here. We're gonna put the Terminus back on top. We're gonna crack Bauble, target my opponent, and put the Terminus on the stack in the next turn. It's most likely that my opponent is going to be Oxing next turn. And then they may cast a Loam. So if they cast Loam, we probably just want to counter it. So I'll put a 2 on top. We don't have any 5s to counter the Ox. We'll put this here. As that. And I'm going to go ahead and Bauble them. And then yield through this turn. They have a Arid Mesa on top. The whole time in my head, they were actually resolving the Ox, so I just totally forgot we have a counterspell for the Ox, so yeah, I will reveal my Counterbalance on top to the Counterbalance. So they're down 2 Creeping Chills, and there's 2 in the grave. So yeah, they're down all their Creeping Chills. Cool, cool. I don't even really think I want to... Yeah, like I'm okay with them just like picking up 3 lands here, I think. They don't have any more Conflagrates in the graveyard, so... So if we had gotten to this point in the game without having to use the Lurrus, we would be miles ahead. Just being able to counter everything that my opponent does, basically. But because we had to use the Lurrus to actually get to this point, we are not, in fact, miles ahead. I think I'm gonna go ahead and concede to the Blood Gas, probably, just because, like, I'm just, like, very dead to them just casting Ox this turn. Because they finally found a Stinkwood Imp. Yep, definitely feels like this deck is not powerful enough to be interacting with those decks like that. I do think that Brainstone is a powerful effect. Like, every time we've been able to play Brainstone and then activate it, I still think it's probably overcosted. It's still too much mana. So I don't think it's good enough in Modern, but I could be wrong. I could definitely be wrong. There is too much going on in this deck right now, especially crossing 3 colors. I think the Ice-Fang. I mean, obviously, I wanted more like playable Modern cards, so that's why I threw the Ice-Fangs in here. They chose red, so they're probably on some Ponza deck. I sort of rushed through that. I you know, normally I would reevaluate how I'm supposed to play out that turn, but I probably am supposed to Prismatic Ending the Utopia Sprawl there. I'm gonna flash in an Ice-Fang Coatl, see what I draw, and see if I care about this. I could go either way on this. I am going to Force of Negation this, but I could go either way on that. I'm gonna go ahead and play out a Counterbalance. Counterspell on top. I want to draw that one, so I think I'm going to go ahead and exile the Elf here. You want a Prismatic Ending the Elf. Just kind of keep them off of some mana. Yeah, this is fine. Naming green. I will not be countering the Bloodbraid Elf because I know that there are no 4 CMC cards in my deck. They will be showing me a Scavenging Ooze, which I will try to counter. There is a Force of Negation on top of my deck. Or no, I'm sorry, it was a Snow-Covered Island. Do I want to counterspell one of these? I think I want to counterspell the Ooze. I got a Seasoned Pyromancer coming. I think I'm just going to leave both of these back. If they play another Bloodbraid Elf, I want to just block both of them. Mystic Gate's a good draw. I fetched up incorrectly a few turns ago whenever I grabbed the Snow-Covered Island to grab to be able to cast the Counterspell. Obviously thinking about Blood Moon there. But, you know, obviously not being able to cast Lurrus has, like, slightly more downside. So, hopefully they cascade into a 1-mana spell here. they cascade into a lightning bolt, which they opt not to cast. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and cast Lurrus and then cast an Ice-Fang Coatl. They have a Windswept Heath on top of their deck. I'm hoping to draw a blue card here. Okay, didn't draw a blue card. Glory Bringer. Okay. I don't know that they can attack. Like, they can exert and kill the Lurrus, but then the Ice-Fang Coatl trades for it. Yeah, I mean, this is, like, not too big of a deal. I mean, we effectively just traded 1 for 1. And my Ice-Fang Coatl drew a card. So I'm up. Non-land. I wonder if maybe we're supposed to be playing some way to like recur the Lurrus. Maybe we're supposed to be dipping black instead of green to like play Unearth. But the problem with Unearth is that Unearth doesn't work well with Terminus. Terminus obviously puts them all on bottom, and then the Lurrus is just in your deck, which is not ideal. We don't play any 5s in this deck, so I'm not going to reveal anything. Just gonna crack the Brainstone and put back Prismatic Ending and Terminus. Yes, I will be casting this Terminus. And I'll cast Brainstone. And I'll pass. Second Gargaroth. It's fine. No flip. We'll counter draw. Same non-land. Into a Snapcaster Mage. We'll cast Counterbalance. Like, this seems very powerful if we just had a Jace to draw to. Like, if we just had a Jace the Mind Sculptor or like a Teferi. I think Jace is probably better with a Counterbalance Shell, so... Okay, no free counter there. I think I am going to go ahead and Force of Negation this, though. I could obviously crack the Brainstone, hoping to find a Cryptic Command in our top 3, which you could take that route if you wanted to, but I don't think it's correct necessarily. Obviously, you can also just kind of let it resolve and then Prismatic Ending it when it hits the board. But we do need a red source for that in order to do that, which we currently don't have. So it does feel like we are turning this corner slightly. The Snapcaster Mages are going to be able to pretty easily stabilize this game. Yeah, I'm definitely going to Brainstone in response to this. Didn't find a 3. Forgot we used the Force, so no 3. But shouldn't be a huge concern. We're going to put Brainstone on top, Mishra's Bauble beneath that, and I'll go ahead and go counter draw. One, two, three, four, five. So yeah, counter draw. I considered maybe bouncing the forest, but I think they're at the point where they have enough mana, it kind of doesn't matter. No, I will not be flipping the top card. All right, and they're all out of cards. I think this turn we're gonna do Snap Cryptic. Okay, that's definitely a good one. Okay, Ice-Fang Coatl. No, let them cascade. Pillage. I'm gonna Cryptic. The question is what spell I am going to Cryptic. I'm gonna counter draw. I think I'm gonna counter the Bloodbraid Elf draw card because I could still technically spike the Pillage by putting a 4 on top underneath this. Ice-Fang Coatl. Or a 3 rather. Yep, that's what I was hoping for. So I revealed and Entreat the Angels. I'm gonna make 4 4/4s, and I think we're done here. So this is an interesting one. I do think I'm going to keep it because if I draw any land in the top 2 or 3 draws, we get a Bauble draw. Worst case scenario, he has a Blood Moon. I'm gonna play out a Brainstone, play out a Bauble. I'm gonna stop on my opponent's upkeep and just Bauble them. See what their top card is. What you got? Okay, got a Windswept Heath. Cinder Vines. It's a little annoying. Probably just gonna go ahead and crack that on my Brainstone if I had to guess. Maybe not. Maybe they're playing that as a way to effectively get around Counterbalance. Could definitely see that. Interesting that they chose not to play the Arbor Elf. Go grab a Hallowed Fountain, untapped, crack the Brainstone, and we'll put 2 Terminus back on top. And then next turn I will cast Terminus and a Brainstone. I'm gonna go ahead and crack the Brainstone, looking for a green source. Ideally, did not find the green source, but we can still put Entreat Terminus back on top and play out the Raugrin Triome. Okay. Down here. Okay. So we're terminusing their board. I think this turn we're probably going to play out Snow-Covered Island and play out a Brainstone holding up Counterspell. I think I'm okay with this. Sure, dude. Bolt me. Well, I was not thinking about them having Veil of Summer, but I definitely would have Force of Negation the first one. I guess they drew another one off the second one. Yeah, shouldn't have clicked through that, but discarding a Gargaroth. Yeah, this is a little unfortunate. We just haven't found a 5th land, and we haven't found a way to deal with the Cinder Vines. We needed a Prismatic Ending for the Cinder Vines much earlier in the game. And I think given that... What? I thought I boarded these in. Okay, I guess I didn't submit that, but we're boarding those in. Bauble myself. Yeah, I'll take a Brainstone. I would have to imagine that they are no longer on the Blood Moon plan, so I'm going to go ahead and aggressively fetch my colors. We'll start with Raugrin Triome. And then we'll go ahead and exile this guy. I'm going to go ahead and get a forest with this, however. And then if they Cinder Vines, we can force... No thanks. I'm gonna go ahead and buy Lurrus. Oh wait. It's not ideal for us, but it's not the end of the world either. Hopefully we draw land. Now we can crack Brainstone. We still have outs. Prismatic Ending being number 1. Don't think I'm beating this if it resolves, so I just have to find my basic planes. Yep, I was convinced that they probably wouldn't be playing with Blood Moon in their main deck anymore, but I suppose I very easily am wrong about that. So I'm going to flash in the Snapcaster Mage at the end of turn. Hopefully they just find another Blood Moon. That's exactly what they found, so this is fine. Yeah, I'm gonna trade with a snap. Should have brought in the engineered explosives, I suppose. So, good draws at this point would be an additional copy of Ice-Fang Coatl, basic plains, basic island. There are 4 basic islands in the deck in total, so we have 3 more to draw to. Brainstone would be fine. I think because of the inclusion in Brainstone being one of our good draws, I am going to go ahead and play out an additional land, just being able to play Brainstone and then make some mana with it. Them drawing basic forest is quite bad for us. That's not, yeah. It's fine. Alright, let's see your top card, boy. Forest. It's not a huge deal. They're not doing anything with 2. I imagine they're not going to do anything with 3. I was a little bit afraid of them playing a Gargaroth, but 2 forest means no Gargaroth. 2 forest, no Gargaroth means they probably don't have it. 3 forest means they almost certainly don't have it. Stomp me. It's an interesting play. I would have imagined that stomping the Ice-Fang Coatl would be better, but my opponent disagrees. I think the real question in this game comes down to, if I draw Abundant Harvest, what am I naming? Oh, that doesn't matter. We are dead pretty quickly to this Bone Crusher Giant. I don't think I'm gonna go to 1. I think I am gonna block here. Yep. That's all bad for me. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and concede to that. Yeah, the prize lag is happening. So if I had fetched a little bit differently, I don't know what I was drawing next. It's not going to let me draw an extra card. So if I had fetched a little bit differently, perhaps that last game goes a little bit differently. But overall, I think that this shell is probably not powerful enough for Modern. So probably not something that I would suggest doing. So for this one, we're going to put this one in the trash can. It was a cool idea. Again, I think if you want to sort of innovate on a deck like this, I would go one direction or the other. I would not dip into Counterbalance and the Miracle cards. I would do Counterbalance only with the synergies of trying to recycle Brainstone, and you just play more of a mid-rangey deck with a bunch of spot removal. Or you play all-in control on the Terminuses being like a sweeper of some sort, and that's probably fine. But either way, I would play Brainstone in either of those decks. Again, I don't know that Brainstone is a playable Modern card. It's very close. It's very, very close. It's like the effect is very powerful. The synergies that it has with some of these other cards is very, very powerful, but it might just be a hair too slow. Like Dredge being able to, like if I go turn 1 Brainstone, so if I'm on the play and I go turn 1 Brainstone and my opponent goes like turn 1 Shriekhorn, put some dredgers into the yard, untap, put some dredgers into the yard, and my turn 2 is just cracking Brainstone, like I have to have exactly Terminus to put it back on top. And then even then, like I don't know. I mean, that's a bad example because I'm on the play, you know, like, I don't know. If you're on the draw in that scenario, it's terrible, but I suppose that's to be expected. I don't know. Up in the air about that one. I would say, again, I'm not a huge proponent of mixing the two. I would go one direction or the other. And you know, maybe the Counterbalance Brainstone, like mid-rangey, just spot removal, control shell with like Lurrus as a way to recycle Brainstone. I'll be honest, that sounds like a much better build. Like just ignore the Terminuses, Entreat the Angels entirely. I mean, you could probably play like one Entreat the Angels, that's probably still fine. But just ignore the Terminuses and just like change these for spot removal, change the green cards for other like playable cards. And that would be fine. Hey Jacob, no, it's I would not say that this is the new hotness. I just ran this through an entire league and I went 2-3. I was just kind of talking about how I would probably be swapping some number of these cards for a future build of this deck. I think this like sort of synergy of Brainstone and the Miracle cards is really powerful along with Counterbalance. But I don't think you can go both ways. I think the ideal situation for this particular deck would be to play a Brainstone, play a Counterbalance, have Lurrus on board, and then you have a way to recycle Brainstone. That's like a very powerful interaction, being able to counter all of your opponent's spells with Brainstone and Lurrus picking it up every turn out of the graveyard. That's a very powerful interaction. I don't think you can play Terminus in a shell like that. So I think if I was going to rebuild this deck, I would probably take out the Terminuses, maybe some number of the green cards. The problem is that I still want to play some number of 3-color lands, maybe even a 4th color land because of Prismatic Ending. I think this card needs at least a 3rd color land, which is probably fine. You can probably get away with just like playing blue-white and then like a Jeskai Triome or like a Steam Vents on top of that, and then you just have like your 3rd color some of the time. So, you know, up in the air on how to exactly build this deck, but it was fun. It was cool. We got to do our thing a couple times. We definitely locked a couple people out. So I'm going to try out a new deck here. We're going to return this back to Mana Traders. And I'm going to try out at least one more deck today that I have brewed up. And I think I'm somewhere between... I think I want to try out Reanimator. So I think that's what I'm going to do here. We're going to try out Reanimator. think it's mana return. Yeah. Take your cards back. See, three. What am I missing here? Assist. Where's the card? Unmarked grave. There we go. Export this. Go ahead and rent it. And you're on 5 yesterday and you get on the life your bonus. How many bro? I was yeah, no, I just yeah. You know, I'm not a fan of playing like that. You know, I definitely think that, you know, if you don't have any outs to win a game, just like, you know, just pick them up. Like we're like even if you know, like if we get somewhere in that game, like where there's still a game 3 to be played, and I just like I got mowed in game 3, and so, you know,